I'm Robert Kleinberg, Institute of Sustainable Energy. As you see on the slide, my topic is methane emissions detection, technology versus regulation. It would be much nicer if it was and regulation, but unfortunately it's not. Those two things seem to be in conflict these days. Methane is, as many of you know, the second most important greenhouse gas that's going into our atmosphere to affect climate. About 15% of total global methane emissions come from the oil and gas industry. And so because I'm come from the oil and gas industry, I'm kind of the unsustainable project in the Institute of Sustainable Energy. So that's what you're going to be seeing. So methane's an important gas, but it's also elusive. It's hard to estimate how much is coming out of our infrastructure. So in 2016, the Environmental Protection Agency mandated an inspection regime with two approved methods. In the upper left is me implementing one of those methods called Method 21. And here I am at a well site infrastructure, checking every flange, every valve, every connector, every pump, looking for leaks, and let me tell you, this is frustrating and time-consuming and inefficient and pretty ineffective. Now, there's another way to do it, and that's illustrated in the upper right, where you put a infrared methane sensor in a Cessna, fly at 1,000 meters altitude, and fly over an oil field. And there, you find the biggest leaks very quickly and very efficiently. And what you find is that only about 2.5% of the total well sites, for example, in the Permian Basin, are responsible for more than half the total emissions in that area. And it's really incredibly effective and efficient, and you find the biggest problems first so you can solve them first. And as our technology improves, that percentage will go up. However, as the slide says, no path to approval. You could fly this all you want voluntarily, but you still need to go back on the ground with good old Method 21 and check every flange, and it's really dumb. So one thing that's happening in the House of Representatives now is that there's an act in Congress, several of them actually, which are going to roll back all the Trump-era depredations of this original methane rule. And so what the people who are writing these laws are saying, well, let's just roll back to 2016 Obama-era rules. There we go. And get rid of all this Trump stuff that makes things worse. So I go in there and I say, no, don't do that because you're going to be stuck with this old-fashioned crummy technology. Let's make sure we're using the most innovative stuff. So just looking at the last two lines on the table, I'm not going to go through the whole thing. So in the old rule, to introduce a new technology, the sensitivity had to be better. No, that's not what you want. What you really want is greenhouse gas reduction. Keep your eye on the ball. And finally, you want to be able to write regulations that encourage innovation, not discourage it. And that's what our amendment does. So our amendment is now, I'm glad to say this, now working its way through Congress. We're hoping for the best. No promises yet, but that's the update. Thanks very much.